Okay, now just a quick overview of the controls of GarageBand. As I mentioned in previous videos, Apple is very friendly, and if you just move your mouse over any of these functions, it'll give you an explanation of what it is. Just a quick briefing. Library, this is just going to take you back to where you're selecting your virtual instruments and whatnot. There's a help function that if you turn this on, it'll give you a explanation of every button that you see present. Can be really helpful in the beginning. This is your controls. So let's say, for instance, you want to really augment the sound of whether it be the software instrument. Just hit that. Here we have our controls for our classic electric piano, but it'll also work for your loops. So as you see here, you just click here, that'll take it away, bring it back, then you could really mess with the sound already. Again, just experimenting with all these dials. They're all kind of the same category as in these the classic electric piano. For instance, with any of these synths and everything, you're all going to have your high, mids, and lows, which are kind of like your EQ, which you can also click here as well. And this will give you kind of like a graphic EQ. And if you see, for instance, I'll play this guitar track quick. You could see how if you just pull, by me pulling that up, I just pulled up the low frequency, meaning the bass frequency. So I just boosted the sound of the bass. But now you can pull it back down, cut everything out, which could give it a real muddy sound. Kind of attenuates the volume a little bit. But now if I raise everything up here, let's say, and pull a dip here, you can hear became a lot brighter because I just boosted the treble. So think about if you've ever seen, or used the equalizer on any of, Spotify, Apple Music, or even on your iPhone. It's the same kind of concept, just you have a little bit more ability to really dial in and pick where you want to go. That's your classic controls. A little bit about our controls up here. So here, obviously, rewind. That's going to take you back by bar. But if you hit this one, this is your master rewind. That'll automatically bring you back to the beginning. The other button that also does that, that's super useful, is return. Just by hitting return will bring you back. Stop, again, your start and stop is also your space bar, which is very useful. But here is our record button, which is another very useful thing. How we record. Let me select this classic electric piano track. I'm going to bring back my musical typing because that's what I want to record with. Let's see. I'm going to just play this. But now how do I record it? This is where these other buttons here. This can be very useful. This is your count in function, meaning that it's going to give you a certain amount of bars, and you could change that in preferences, but usually it's just one bar. You can give yourself a click in before you start recording. So check it out. 2, 3, 4. Now we're recording. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we have the part I just recorded. Now this, check this out, due to me manipulating this EQ setting, definitely made it a lot louder. So I'll just do it here. Now, also these sliders here control the volume of your track. So now we have everything in there. We recorded by simply just hitting the record button, gave ourselves our count in. Now this is going to be another thing too, a metronome. Clicking this will have you get a constant click going to make sure all your music is lining up. So now you hear that bing, bum, bum, bum. It's also going along to this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is also giving you your bar count. If you see here, your bar count will line up with this grid up here. Now you can make this grid bigger and smaller by dragging this little slider here. For instance here, we have now a number for each bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. Now, each one of these little slashes is a beat. Right here is beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. Start over. Beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. This really is important when you're placing your loops and or recorded sounds or imported audio files into the project. I will say the majority of the time you'll drag it and drop it and it will fall directly on a beat like this, meaning the downbeat, beat 1. But you can manipulate it and slide it over and just slide it 1 beat. For instance, if we hear, listen here, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the guitar came right in on beat 1. But if we want to change it and say, let's have this guitar come in on beat 2, check it out. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can really change things up just by moving something over a beat. You can also run into a little kind of tricky problems where things may not kind of sync up properly. I will be honest, if you line everything up on the downbeat, meaning the strong solid line of the bar, everything's usually going to work. One other thing very important, here we have our bar and our beat, tempo. So now this song currently is at a tempo of 125. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty fast, kind of like your standard kind of pop dance tune. But now double click this, and now you could change it to anything you want. 85, let's say. Now listen to it. And luckily, everything in the project will adjust to this tempo. I think 85 is a little too slow. Let's see, 90, 98. And you see right there, everything in the project will automatically change to whatever tempo you set it at, which is another nice, really useful thing about any of these digital audio workstations, specifically GarageBand. Everything will jive together, and the second you change the tempo, every audio file, every loop, every MIDI meaning what we recorded here, every software instrument will adhere to the tempo you set and adjust therefore. So again, these are just, again, more beginning controls. The other one that can be really useful is this. This is called, they call it your cycle tool. I like to call it the loop because what it'll do is put something in a loop. So by clicking this, you see now you have this little yellow bar on top. Now you could set this for as long as you want. What this is doing here is, let's see, I'll bring it back. Just if you click on it and drag it, you can make it as long or short as you want. Check out what this does. See how after that 2 bars, it brings it back to the beginning or wherever you set your loop browser. This is really useful in editing and mixing. When you say, oh, this one section just isn't sounding right, how can I make it sound better? Usually go to this cycle tool, cycle that section, and listen to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over till you will most likely not like that part of the song anymore. But again, this is really kind of getting you into the mixing, producing, and editing process of music and kind of gives you a first-hand take on it. So that is our cycle/loop tool, which can also be very useful. And that pretty much explains all of our basic controls at the top of GarageBand.